with people, we also have a next step. If you reprimand an employee, or if you're talking with an employee, conferencing with an employee about mistakes, what is the next step beyond that? Is there another step? Now, some things can be cut and dried. Maybe they're just not putting the last four digits of the zip code in there. Okay, that's something that's fairly minor. But if it's something major that they're leaving out, maybe the back orders, maybe I don't know, whatever it could be, and you're talking with that employee, what's the next step? Because you don't want to have something like it, the resolution sometimes doesn't happen immediately, particularly with people, particularly when you're trying to change behaviors or correct behaviors that are not. You're trying to change that, maybe change your process, and people are trying to do it the old way. There's always that next step. And what that does is it gives some continuity to the employee. It also doesn't let the issue die, because once there is no next step, it dies. It goes away. I shouldn't say dies. Maybe it becomes integrated in your system or in the employees' heads, or you know. But once you don't have a next step, basically what you're saying is you're taking that thing off of the hot plate there, the front burner. You know what that means, Brenna? The front burner. Front burner. It's an expression now. Maybe I'm too dated there. The hot seat there. So with people, as with sales, what is that next step? So when I'm doing an employee review, what is the next step? Well, maybe the employee's doing a good job and everything's pretty well, and there's nothing really pressing. They're still learning and they're actually doing a good job. There's still a next step, and that next step is the next review. So you don't let them leave that interview without putting a date and time for that next review. They can see, oh, there's a next step with this. It's not over. It's a continuing effort. And it's the same, I think, when you're correcting mistakes or the behaviors that lead to those mistakes. You may not have to put it indefinitely. It may not be like a project management thing where it goes out in infinity, where you're doing it forever. But what is the next step? And the only time you take away that next step is when it's resolved. Okay, well, I'm going to remember forever to put those last four digits of the zip code in there. Okay. Well, we don't need to go over that again, do we? No, we don't. So that one's integrated and that's put in. But if it's a bigger issue, such as employee interaction or adding a sales component to customer service, there needs to be a next step. And that way, I think what happens is your people begin to also sense the priorities. Just as you, when you're setting up your projects as a manager, you're going to work on the ones that are most important. There may be things that are important, but they're not critical, and you prioritize those. The employee will do that too, and with your help. But that's assuming you have a next step and or some sort of plan. Don't leave it hanging, because it will hang, and it'll go away, or sometimes it'll do all kinds of crazy things. But don't let it hang.